This daf here, Yerushalmi Shekalim, the article Oz edition. We're at the third line down on daf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph, Rabbi Yosef Rabbah, which is on Chav Gimel in the base in the Vilna Yerushalmi, and in the Vilna Bavli Yerushalmi on Tes Vav Amud Aleph, the last narrow line. Rabbi Yosef Rabbah Hav Rabbi Debrei Chad Sagin Ora. So the Melamed of Rabbi Yosef Rabbah, Rabbi Yosef is a great son, was somebody who was blind. And he used to eat with Rabbi Yosef every day. So one day, Rabbi Yosef Rabbah had a guest. He was not able to come eat together with together with the Melamed. So they invite the Melamed to the table. So he ate with the guest and without the Melamed. In the evening, he went to the Melamed. Amar Leis said, "Lo yichos Marielai. May my master not be angry at me. I had guests today. The Amris, and I said, "Lo leave Zebi Kara de Marie. They should not degrade the honor of my master, meaning of the Melamed." So the Tavlin Chadadin says, "Why the lo leave Zu shlo kvod she'ena makirim moscha." They were not familiar with him, so therefore they wouldn't give him proper honor. So therefore, Yom Hadain lo achlisi more. It says really twice here, and one thing seems to be superfluous. The Shneschos changes the first one to Kumehon. So the Lord of Zebiyakad Mari Kumehon. I shouldn't degrade my master's honor in front of them. Therefore, the Lo Achlisi Mari Yom Hadain, that's what I eat with you today. Amar late. So the Melamed said, "Atapiasta, you came to appease. Amanda mischamei, he was seen. V'lo chamei cannot see. The dain the chamei, v'lo mischamei, he who sees but cannot be seen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yikaba piyusach, should accept your appeasing of me." Amar lei. Rabbi Yosef Rabbah is very impressed with this bracha. It's very elegant bracha. So he said, "Hadaminalach, where did you get this bracha from?" Amar said, "Lesbian Yaakov." It came from Lesbian Yaakov. The Lesbian Yaakov, all charetz sagi nor lekarte. And a blind person came to the town of Rabbi Lesbian Yaakov. Yosef Rabbi Yosef ben Yaakov Ramine. Lesbian Yaakov sat below him. The Mate men, it says, and in order that people should say, the Yemrun, the people should say, "Do lay to have a Barnasha Rabbah, where this blind person, not a great man, Lo say Yaakov Ramine, Yaakov now sat below him." Amle Parnasadi Akar, they gave him a special, very honored Parnasa. Evidently, he came to collect funds, and they gave him a very dignified gift. So Amalun Ma'oche. So he said to him, "What's going on here? I usually don't get such great support from where I go." Story. It's totally not relevant. The Chida wrote a sefer, I believe it was Magal Tov, about his travels raising money as a Shadar, Shluchah de Rachmana, for the Kila Kedosha of Chevron in Eretz Yisrael. He writes about his travels all throughout Europe. And he comes to the ancestral hometown of Beckhofen in Germany. He says, "They're a bunch of cheapskates. They gave me a small donation, and not only that, they didn't give me transportation Lafik Voidi to the next village," which I guess was the custom to provide a dignified mode of transportation to the next village. So, okay, those are probably my ancestors, because everybody living in Beckhofen was a ancestor, or somehow he was generally an ancestor of the Beckhofers today. So, okay, obviously it's tough. It's about their sometimes tough. You have to impress them to give money. They say to him, "There's Me'akov, Yasi L'Raminach. There's an Yaakov sat below you, so you must be a very chashuv person." And this the blind Meshulach said about Rebbe Lesman Yaakov this prayer. I talk about the chesed mani v'schamei v'lo chamei. You did chesed to he who is seen and cannot see. Dain the chamei v'lo mischamei, he who sees and but cannot be seen. Igmor yasar chesed should bestow upon you chesed in turn. Okay, Dilma, which in the Yerushalmi always means a story. We've had this several times, numerous times. He passed. For some reason, the government, the Reb Chaim takes out the word Dilma. I don't know. I guess he doesn't like the usage of Dilma, meaning a story. I think we said before that it probably is related to the word dilemma, which is some sort of episode which raises an issue. But whether it is or not, I'm surprised he takes it out since it's so prevalent in Yerushalmi. Right, and of course, this story also appears elsewhere in the Yerushalmi, as we said, at least in Mesechus Yupeh. I think elsewhere probably as well. Right, have him a tiny being kedush to the lul. They'll go to you walk among the batik knesios, the shuls in lul. Amar Reb Chaim Rechina Reb Yeshua. How much money did my forefathers give here? In other words, they paid a lot of money towards the building of these shuls. So says Gemara Amar Lei that Rabbi Chaim Yoshi retorted, how many souls did your forefathers invest here? In other words, they could have supported souls. Lo hava east by bnei nosh right, but the raisa, there weren't people around who could have learned Torah who your father could support. Instead, he gave money to the buildings. As people say, Jews have edifice complexes. They need grandiose buildings. It's not that those do Dr. Torah. Dr. Torah is to build Pashto buildings and support the Lame Day Torah. There's an article which is written, I forget by whom, about the epic of prohibition in America. And many of our ornate, ancient old shuls come from the time of Prohibition. And the reason is because the gangsters in charge of the wine trade knew that the rabbis get licenses to sell sacramental grape wine based on the amount of seats in their shuls. So they built them very elaborate shuls with lots of seats so they could get a lot of wine licenses. And then, of course, the gangsters would take the wine and sell it at a high profit. So the Jews have had an edifice complex, right? They've with buildings. And Maybe Aisha said, no, that's not. We don't spend the money on buildings. You spend the money on Lem Day Torah. Right? Avid Elaine Tyra Taraya the Suja Rabba. Rabbi Avun made the gates of the great base Medrash. And evidently he made that made them of the finest qualities. Also Rabbi Yomar Rabbi came to visit him, and he normally said, "Chamim, I have this." So Rabbi Abun said, "Look what I did! I made these wonderful gates, very elaborate, I guess, and ornate." Amalei said, "Vayishkach Yisrael es havaseyu vayiven hecholos." So the idea, it's a pasuk in Hosea. The Jews forgot their creators and they built palaces. Instead of focusing on Choshen Hashem, you focused on the buildings. Love of Barnashti Omri. Right, so same idea. They're not people who show Torah, and therefore this is just a misuse of the. Okay, the next part of the Gemara is deceptively simple. It's not simple at all to the end of the parak. And I'm going to go with the Shikli Yosef, which is based on Korban Eda. The Chaim was differently. The Gra changes the gears so dramatically here. And Chaim actually has two pshatim, neither of which he seems to be enthusiastic about. And of course, other Mepharshim like Moshe have their own Perushim. Chadatin goes like the Gra. But in any event, we're going to go like the Shikli Yosef. Slight change, but not a major one, which is basically Korban Eda, except in one aspect. The Korban Eda says in the if the first Korban Eda, well, let's see the Gemara first. Let's see the Korban Eda, but I'll tell you what's done more in the Korban Eda. It says Tiny Kachim Mizbech, Mutzim Yisraelim, Kachim Bedek Abayis. In principle, Kachim Mizbech has overrides Kachim Bedek Abayis, it's Kedusha Yisera, and therefore they can take whatever they want. Now, this going back on our Mishnah, right? Mishnah said that, and we're going to discuss it in the context of our Mishnah. Mishnah said that Lishkas Chen Komishim Misnayim Kli Zork L'Tocho, V'achas Lo Shmiel Makis Burn Postchim Oso, right? The Kli Shemotz Bo Tzorech LeBedek Abayis Mnichim Oso, Kli which is required for Bedek Abayis, leave it there. Shiny Krem is made no for Lishkas Bedek Abayis, and the rest of they sell, presumably to Chulin, and the proceeds go to Lishkas Bedek Abayis. So Kormei is saying this: Motzinas or Royal Lem Kach Bedek Abayis. Going to Hikdish Behema Avodah Bedek Abayis. The sacrifice a behema or stones to Bedek Abayis. Tzuchim Moson Mizbech. You need for Mizbech. No, there's on Mizbech. Ava the Hikdish, and that would be true about Kalim as well. Ava Hikdish Behema Afilu Ba'amuma Avodah Mizbech. Emotzinas or Bedek Abayis. Right. The makdish behem. This is the difficult part of the Karmei. It says makdish behem in a ba'amumar avodim mizbech. Emutzim be'ek abayis ali machru. You sell them udmeim noflim be'ek abayis. No, you just go to be'ek abayis in that case. If you're makdish ba'amumar avodim mizbech, when you sell them, the money goes to the mizbech. So the second part of the Karmei is difficult, but the first part of the Karmei is what's nogel in yanenu. Okay, so if you made something better, be'ek abayis, kach mizbech and override it. Because it's the superior kedusha. Okay, so now let's see inside. Tani kachim is back. Motzi misarelem mi kachim bedek abayis. Right. Ain't kachim bedek abayis. Motzi misarelem because it's back, but it doesn't work vice versa. Kachim bedek abayis cannot override kachim is back. Now, Ram is our Mishnah. But then we learn kli shemotzi bot tzorich lebedek abayis. The kli which is necessary bedek abayis. Mnichim also uses bedek abayis. Vashar and the rest Nimkorim the main Noflin, the rest of them you sell, and their money goes the Lishkas Bedek Abayis. The goes to Lishkas Bedek Abayis. The Vilna and the Reb Chaim have a girsa with Meim Noflim. Libedek Abayis, not Lishkas Bedek Abayis. Even if you have Lishkas Bedek Abayis, I don't think it makes a difference. I think it's the same principle. The question is, our Mishnah doesn't leave any room to take from Bedek Abayis and make a Kachim Mizbech. Either you're using it for Bedek Abayis, or you're selling it and using the proceeds for Bedek Abayis. But it doesn't leave, there's no indication that Kachim Mizbech can come and take these Kalim when they want to take them. It doesn't say anything of the sort. Right, so what do we do? Where do you see a remez in our Mishnah to such a possible halacha? It seems like Kach Bedek Abayis, Kach Bedek Abayis, they remain Bedek Abayis, either directly because of Bedek Abayis or to be sold in the proceeds of Bedek Abayis, but not that you can just take them for Kach Mizbech. So Amar Bechis said, Kini Mas Nisa. This is the way we read our Mishnah. And a lot of the Vilna and almost everybody else takes out the word Litzorach here, which appears in the text, but I think that we do leave it in, and this is based on the Shikli Yosef, which is based on Korban Eda. And Kli Shenimtzu going to read the Korban Eda. Keinu Mishnah Seinu Kli Shemotzu Bo Tzorech, a Kli which has a tzorech. Now he says the tzorech Mizbeach or the Bedek Abayis. Lishkas Bedek Abayis. It stays in Lishkas Bedek Abayis. Menichim also, Misham Liliso, Mashat Tzrichim also. You leave it there and you take it for whatever you need it. So in other words, Amar Chizka Kini Masdisa, the Mishnah said in the ratio, it says the Tzorech Bedek Abayis. Don't read the Tzorech Bedek Abayis. No, read the Tzorech Lishkas Bedek Abayis. You leave it in that Lishka, the Bedek Abayis, until you need it and use it either for Bedek Abayis or for Kachim Mizbech. So that's I mean again. Amar Chizka Kini Masnisa Litzorech. If it's Litzorech, you need to leave it in the Lishkas Bedek Abayis, in this Lishka which we're talking about, the Lishkas Hakelim. It's called Lishkas Bedek Abayis, and probably somebody, maybe somewhere, I should say probably, maybe somewhere change it to Lishkas Hakelim. You say Lishkas Bedek Abayis, but because that's what it means to say. It means you leave it in this Lishka of Bedek Abayis, i.e. the Lishkas Hakelim, until you're ready to use it. But in Chanami, if it has a tzorech for Kachim Mizbech, Taka use the Mizbech. If not, use the Kachim Bedek Abayis. If it's for if there's neither of them, right? Not for the override purpose, not for the actual the default purpose of B'kachim Bedek, then the Sefer the Mishnah kicks in, and you sell it and use the proceeds for Bedek Habayis. That's the easiest way to learn this Gemara. Okay, there were 13 shofaros, that's certain pushkas, and which from shofar, because now on top and wide at the bottom. 13 tables, and 13 places to bow down. Okay, they shall base Rabbi Chanina was kind of Kohanim, that the Kohanim from the house of Chanina's kind of Kohanim, they would boil down a 14th spot. Hechanai saw you say, where's an extra place to bow down? Negadir Eitzim, opposite the stockpile of the wood, which was one of the leshakos in the Ezos Noshim. There were 4 open air chambers or offices at the corners of Ezos Noshim, and one of them, the northeast one, was the Lishkas Eitzim, where they kept the wood for the Maracha, and the Kohanim would by movement would come and make sure that there were no worms in that wood. And there came a source beyond them. I was saying, even though the standard Masorah was that the Aron was nignaz underneath the Kodesh Kodashim, they had a Masorah Shesham Aron nignaz, that the Aron was nignaz there. And there's a Maisa, B'koin Echad, Shel Misasek, according to them, I guess they had a Masorah to this Maisa, because not everybody agrees with this, obviously. The Masorah in their household, and the household of B'chin is kind of Kohanim, that B'koin Echad Shel Misasek, this Kohen who was involved in, Balmum was involved in checking the wood. And so one place the floor was different than the other place in the floor, and that was a place where the Aron was underneath. The stones were not even or something like that. It's not clear. The different interpretations here, which the Art Scroll brings down, but the Pashtat is like the Mepharshim say here that it was zigzag, wasn't even. And Art Scroll says that there's different pshatim that they could tell that part of the floor was still from Bayis Rishon, even though the rest of the floor was from Bayis Sheni, or that because of the kedusha of the Aron, that place was like glowing, so therefore it looked different than the rest of it. Farmer Chaber was about to point out to his friend this phenomenon. Speaking of Gemara's Adover, he was not able to complete his statement before he died. Everyone knew what he was about to say. They knew clearly that Sheshama Aron Ganus, that there the Aron was hidden. Okay, he brings down here in the article another pshat. Yichud means knew, and they kept it secret. Okay, that brings us to the top of Mem Beis Amrav, so we'll stop here for today.